Scott, we didn't learn too much on the Jameis Winston front from Bruce Arians and Jason Light. Where do you think they are here a few weeks now from free agency? There's probably some smokescreen to an extent, but it sounds to me like they're just going to wait this out to the last possible second.
Well, we know right now that Jameis Winston's not their top priority. If he was the number one option for this Buccaneer team, he'd be under contract. They'd have already done a contract extension, but the problem is when you throw 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, it just creates as many questions about Jameis at the end of the season as there was heading into the season. Is this guy a franchise quarterback? Can he take this Buccaneer team to the playoffs? Well, he didn't last year. 7-9 was the product of those 33 or 30 interceptions and all those pick sixes. And so that has left the door open for the Buccaneers to pursue other options. I think what's going to happen, Dan, is they're going to franchise Jameis Winston at the deadline on March 12th, and by doing that, that doesn't mean they're committed to Jameis Winston, as long as he doesn't sign that contract. Jameis doesn't want to sign a one-year deal.
Right.
Jameis wants a long-term deal in Tampa or somewhere else. Tampa is his first choice. But so you can franchise him, that way you have your backup plan while you would go explore your options. Does Tom Brady want to come to Tampa? Phillip Rivers? Is there a trade possibly if a guy like Brady goes to the Las Vegas Raiders? Does that open up the door for Derek Carr? A lot of options out there for the Buccaneers. They just don't know which options are going to be available. But franchising Jameis gives them a little bit of an ace in the hole, because at least they're not going to be without a seat when this Buccaneer musical chair quarterback carousel spins around.
Do you think there's a risk in letting Jameis shop himself around? And maybe with the expectation that, okay, maybe he's going to realize he's not worth what he thinks. He'll come back to us. But at the same time, somebody may get him while he's shopping himself around.
All it takes is one. That's the scary thing. If one team likes Jameis Winston and believes we have the quarterback's coach or the offensive coordinator or the head coach to finally get these interceptions out of a system, and they see the potential and they see the production, the 5,100 yards, the 33 touchdowns, the improvisational ability, and the fact that he's 26 years old. There is some appeal to Jameis Winston. But I believe that they will franchise him just to safeguard the Buccaneers from losing him, because there's no guarantee Phillip Rivers or Tom Brady or whoever else they're going to pursue wants to come to Tampa.
At the end of the season, we talked about the defensive guys that they're going to have to try and bring back here, and the list is the who's who on the defense. And Ndamukong Suh, Shaquille Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, and on and on. Bo Allen goes on that list. You said at the time there's going to be a victim. Jason Light seems to think they could go after all of them. He didn't say they were going to get all of them, but he seems to think they've got a good chance to get all of them back. Is that possible?
I think the odd man out is going to be Carl Nassib. I think that, and you heard Bruce Arians say it in his final post-season press conference, that Shaq Barrett, NFL sack leader #1, Jason Pierre-Paul #2, and Ndamukong Suh #3 in that order. And where does that leave Carl Nassib? Well, I think if JPP, if he gets a better offer elsewhere and the Bucs don't want to match it, and he prices himself out of Tampa's salary pool, then maybe Carl Nassib comes in as a guy that could be a little bit of a plan B. But I think right now he's probably #4 on that pecking order, and I think that he's going to price himself out of Tampa. And I think those top 3 guys, Shaq Barrett, JPP, and Ndamukong Suh, will return to Tampa Bay in 2020.
And so into the draft and coming out of here, this NFL scouting combine, does that make pass rush a priority, you think, in the draft? Or is there another aspect you think they really are focusing on as they leave Indy and get ready to make that top pick?
Well, we have to remember they drafted Anthony Nelson in the 4th round last year, a big outside linebacker / defensive end. So they've got a pass rusher waiting in the wings to replace Carl Nassib. And I think if they can get those guys back, you might see them take another pass rusher somewhere in the middle or late rounds. But in the early rounds, Dan, talking with the offensive linemen, the Buccaneers have spent an awful lot of time with formal interviews. That means Jason Light's in the room, Bruce Arians is in the room, not just area scouts. These are the Bucs brass. They're in the room with the offensive linemen. I think you're going to see the Buccaneers go offensive line probably in round 1, and maybe again in round 2, or running back in the 2nd round. The Bucs have really done their due diligence with the offensive tackles, with the interior offensive line, and also with running backs. So I think the emphasis, whether it's Jameis Winston under center or a new quarterback, they want to have a more balanced offense, maybe not 5,000 passing yards, 4,000 passing yards, and a healthier, more robust, balanced attack with a running game. And I think that's what's missing. They got to find somebody to complement Ronald Jones. I think Peyton Barber's the odd man out. They're going to draft a running back this year, probably on day 2.